Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. Okay, so I am in the airport lounge in Columbus, so I am going to be talking. You guys would be happy. I won't be shouting for the first time in a long time on a podcast, but we have a special podcast today. We're going to figure out what went wrong with the Sharks in this losing streak. Of course, they did win yesterday in Columbus, big win. Also, we're going to talk about what to do going forward for the Sharks, and we brought on Jason Demers, our buddy Jason Demers, and we see the whole team here too. So welcome back, Dan Boyle. Welcome back, Zubair. Congratulations, Zubair. And let's get rolling here.
But before that, we have a quick word from our sponsor, BringHockeyBack.net. BringHockeyBack.net, as you all know, makes fabulous T-shirts, fabulous Shark-related merch, as well as custom jerseys. They've been our title sponsor for over a year now, and it's been going well. So if you want to support this podcast, get yourself some nice swag, go to BringHockeyBack.net, use the promo code San Jose Hockey Now for 15% off your first purchase. So
And
good job.
thanks,
Jason
buddy.
Demers.
Working on my TV voice.
Welcome, JD. 700 NHL games in the bank, rising media superstar with NHL Network, NHL.com.
Yes.
Of course, big Sharks fan too. Played for the Sharks for a long time. So anyway,
Super
welcome,
fan.
JD.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. We going one by one
Welcome
here.
back.
Yeah.
Long time listener, first time caller. Good to be here. Good to see my LD partner, my LPP partner here, Boiler, Mr.
Sure.
Silver Fox.
Yes, sir. And by the way, like people actually listen. I didn't think Sheng people actually listen to us, but like I'm like going out now into the world and I'll get recognized and I'm like, oh, someone is a fan. They'll be like, great job on the podcast. I'll be like, fuck. People are actually listening. So
That's weird.
shout out to all you listeners that are actually listening and watching us, and we appreciate it. Thank you. But thank you, JD, for coming. We were highest rated episode we've had was with JD last time, so that's why we brought him back.
Wow.
I actually
think
don't
it's
know if
probably
that's true. I thought that was with Cat Foley, but anyway, that's neither here
I
nor
made
there.
that up. I made that up. I totally made that up. I had no
He's
idea.
bullshitting it.
Knowing that,
It got good ratings.
No
It
idea.
did. It got great
It
ratings.
did. It did. It did. It
Dead to
did.
rights. Yeah, Catcher Boy will be number one.
Yeah, she wins.
He wins for sure.
All right, well, let's get right to it. Okay, we don't have too much time, so actually, I'm gonna flip this around a little bit. We're gonna talk about what went wrong with the Sharks, but actually, let's go because we have JD here for a limited amount of time. Let's talk more about how do the Sharks get better next year. And JD put out the JD plan on Twitter that actually got a lot of hate. And the first time I seen JD get a lot of hate from Sharks fans. So
Well,
now you know what it's like, JD. So welcome to the
well,
club, JD.
I put one player, and I didn't know the hate that the Shark fan base has for John Klingberg, and I love John Klingberg as a guy, and I like always having somebody in the coffer that might not be a regular, but they can come in on a power play if it's struggling, and just a plug and play if you lose the top end power play guy. But this offseason, I think the biggest thing to address for the Sharks is the back end.
Of course, yeah.
I think you can't move forward if you don't get at least, and we've talked about this at the trade deadline, and I'd love to hear Boiler's thoughts, but like they need some between 25 to 30-year-old defensemen that are going to grow with the team, and they need some guys that are proven NHL players. It's not a time to bring in three guys that are let's see in 2-3 years, because the thing that you're going to have now is, depending what Macklin signs, the window to start winning is not in 6-7 years. It's in the next 3 years, when you have a guy like Mac that you can maybe convince to take a shorter term bridge contract before his enormous one for $20 million. So if they're having the conversations, for me, I'm like, the back end is the biggest thing you got to take care of. And, you got Sam Dickinson, who I think's really showing some enormous growth. But you got to just, after him, everybody else is on a 1-year deal. So it's other than Orlov. So it's you really have to be conscious of what you're building, because you can't, this D-core needs to be like a focal point, whether the identity of it to be big, long guys with one, skilled power play quarterback, and you're just making sure that nothing's getting through to Ned or Askey, or you're doing all puck movers. But it's got to be maybe 1 to 2 young guys. I know Pohlkamp's been a big thing around Shark fan base. They really want him there. But again, Boiler will tell you this: one thing to be a prospect, it's another thing to perform. And I don't know if they can have a guy, dipping his toe into the water. You bring back Mario Ferraro, you bring back Vinny Desharnais, you got all those questions answered. But there's a lot of guys out there, and it's not a deep free agency pool this offseason, but there's a lot of guys that are like kind of undervalued that are 25 to 30-year-olds. And I think you got to get creative with finding that, whether it's through trade or free agency. So I put a couple guys out there that I like. I love Michael Kesselring. I know him personally. I think he would be an enormous add to this team. I think he's had a very down year this season with injury, and then he's just hasn't been able to find his way in this lineup. And sometimes those are the guys that perform the best, and it costs you nothing. And then Darren Raddysh, if you can get him, I think Darren Raddysh is where I have a soft spot for a guy like Darren Raddysh. I think he's a great player. People still think that it's only because of Kucherov and those guys that he's performing, but Boiler will tell you this also, and then I'll stop there. Is Boiler will tell you like just because you're playing with Kucherov, you're playing with Jumbo and Patty, and you're the power play one quarterback, doesn't mean you're going to get 60 points. You got to perform with those guys, and it's difficult. The reason that power play is still good and Kucherov's doing so well is because of Darren Raddysh, and he's got to score those goals. Like it's fucking difficult. Even though you're getting a one-timer down the slot, like you got to put it in. I played power play one and I couldn't score, so I was always a PP2 guy. Like, so it's like you'd have the opportunities with the Jumbos and Patties, but Boiler, I mean, that's what I always think people forget that like you need a solidified PP1 guy, especially in this league.
You think Raddysh is going to be available because his next contract's going to play himself out of what they can afford?
Well, I was living in fairyland when I tweeted that, but yeah, that's like best case scenario. If
I was
money's
like,
no option and people were like 5x8. I'm like, the cap's going to be like 120 in 2 years. Like 5x8's a discount.
I think he's gonna get more than that, honestly.
That's what I
because
think.
there's nobody on the market. There's nobody on the
nobody.
market. Someone's gonna take a chance on him. I did want to add, so the JD plan, just if you didn't see the tweet, is to sign Raddysh at 5 years, $8 million per, trade for Michael Kesselring, re-sign Vinny Desharnais, and everybody's favorite, re-sign John Klingberg for 1 year, and right side set for a couple of years there. I did want to mention too with Pohlkamp that, yeah, I totally agree with JD there that you can't afford to pencil him in. Like if he surprises you, like Colin Graff did this year, fuck, great, that's great. Then you trade somebody a month into the season, but let him do that though before you say he's going to be our third pairing and we're going to put him on PP2. That's a losing strategy. So also too, how the Sharks get better too. Let's not forget to mention it really quickly. Obviously the D is the big area of growth, but we're going to get a lot of internal growth from the young forwards. I mean, you see Chernyshov, you see Will Smith. I think William Eklund, even though the goals haven't been there, William Eklund's best games this year have been some of the best hockey I've seen William Eklund ever play. Obviously Macklin and down the Zach Ostapchuk, Colin Graff. The forwards are set. You know, you hope that Askarov, he finds some consistency, but the talent is there too. So got to figure out that D. So I guess to you guys then, like, what do you guys think? First, Darren Raddysh, JD, you think he's more than a 1 year guy, 1 year wonder kind of guy? That's everybody's sort of question about him.
100%. I think Darren Raddysh is. I think you're going to have to pay him term for what he's done. He's gotten better every single year. And he's playing 5 more minutes, I think, per game than last year. And again, it's one thing to get that ice. Everybody wants that ice, but to perform with that ice is another thing. So like and consistently throughout the season, like this is not like, hey, you just had, 20 good games. Like he has been good all season long offensively. Like you can't afford to scoff at a guy that's had 1 good year when it's been this good of a year. Like you have to be like, and maybe he gives you 2 good years, but that's enough. 2 good years. And then even if you're maybe overpaying him, again, you have all these young guys that are supposed to develop. All the Sharks fan are horny for Pohlkamp and all the draft picks they're going to get. And these guys that are coming up, great. You sign a guy to 5x8. If he's great for 2 years and then he falls off, well, you got a Pohlkamp that's on an entry level deal. He can play. You can play him at 5x8 on the third pair. It is what it is. You're trying to win a cup. So you're right now, the key is just how do you get the best possible decor for the next 2 to 3 years? Because I think that might be a sneaky window where it's like the quarterback theory in the NFL. When you have a good young quarterback is when you spend around everything surrounding him, because before he signs that max level deal and you franchise tag him, you got to That's the opportunity to win. Like Macklin right now, you're not going to have a better time to win than the next 3 years, I think, with
Well, you
him.
have 1 year with his ELC, and then he is eligible to sign an extension July 1st, and then we don't know what that will be. Will it
Yeah,
be an
yeah.
8-year contract? Will it be a kind of a bridge contract like Austin Matthews signed? So I think that's going to
But
be, that there's
Jason,
opportunity there. Yeah, Keegan.
did you watch after you tweeted that? Was that after you watched the Lightning versus Wild game, or was it just you were watching Raddysh in general? Because I remember watching him the other night when it was Lightning versus Wild, and that game was nuts, and your Raddysh looked amazing in that game.
It's been over the season, number one, but then I went back and was like, I like looking at guys that consistently get better. Like if you look at his point totals and everything, he gets better. And the other eye test for me is like when you give a guy more minutes, can he perform, and can he perform for a long period of time? You'll see young guys at the start of the season, they'll get 20 minutes. They'll be great for 10 games. Everybody goes, we got a superstar. Then all of a sudden, all the bad habits creep in. Nothing's happened like that yet for him. Again, he's not a stalwart defensive defenseman, but you need a top PP guy. You can't have Orlov out there and Klinger as your PP1 guy. You need a guy that is going to man the first power play. It is categorically, you cannot be without that, because every top team in the NHL, look at every single one in the NHL right now, maybe the top 5 teams, they have a stud PP1 defenseman, and maybe even they have a great PP2 that can step in, but they have a stud PP1. You look at the top power plays, but it's like you look at the Bouchards, you look at the Dahlins, you look at the Quinn Hughes, Makars. Those are all teams that are in the playoffs. Those are all teams that are going to be competing for a Stanley Cup. You can't be without that. So to me, I'm like, yes, Darren Raddysh, but it might not be what people want comparatively to those guys. And I'm not comparing Raddysh to McLaren and those guys, but you need something. And there's nothing. Yeah.
Similar thought to Sherwood, where it's like they identified a type of player. He's a little older, he's a late bloomer, but he's the guy that they need for that lineup. It's kind of thing with Raddysh, where it's he's 30, but maybe for the next 5 years you can get good production out of him. I wonder why Tampa doesn't just keep him though, and why he doesn't just stay in Tampa.
They're probably going to wait to see if they win the cup, but I mean, he's probably priced himself out. But I wonder if all the Hedman stuff right now might, Breezeball is not afraid to pull the trigger on an aging guy.
Yeah.
They traded Stamkos. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hedman get moved. But that was my listen, unless you want to trade for a top power play guy, but who's available out there that's not going to cost a king's ransom?
Yeah, I'm gonna add my 2 cents here. Yes, the goaltending needs to be consistent. Okay, more consistent next year. Forwards, you're pretty set. As long as you got Mac, you can build a team around him. I have no doubt. So the defense for sure is the area. Obviously, you talked a lot about power play stuff, but I'm looking at 2 more things. Somebody that can play 25 minutes a night. That's going to alleviate 3, 4, 5 minutes a night from someone else that could cost you a goal or 2 here or there. So I think somebody that's going to play those big minutes. And then I not only do I want a PP1 guy, but I want a guy that's going to skate the puck out of trouble. That's going to skate. Dahlin the other night, I did the game, the Buffalo game, and I haven't watched him, but I watched him a lot that night, and didn't know much about him, but obviously the reviews were pretty high, and I get it. I mean, he was just a puck mover. He didn't do anything special. He was involved in 3 goals, I think. I talked about it on the air. Just
moves a lot like you.
I mean, again, I don't watch his games, but I love it.
But he's 6'4".
Yeah.
I know, but he's a 6'4" version of Boyle, but unfortunately, genetic.
I know, that's amazing.
When we always talk about puck moving defenseman, offensive defenseman, but more specifically, someone that's going to skate the puck out of trouble, someone that's going to calm the team down whenever the pressure from the other teams come. You need a guy that's going to hold on to the puck and not necessarily score a goal or anything, but just change the pace and the direction of where the game's going. So that's what I liked about Dahlin's game. And to add to that, I was a little bit on Dickinson on TV the other night because I think, yes, he is only, is he 19? And he's only going to get better.
19.
But I would like, I don't know if it's Doug Huda or whoever, I would like for him to those guys to give him some tape, whether it's Darlene or whether it's Hughes or whoever. He gets himself in trouble by stopping a lot, and we're taught stops and starts when we're young is the way to go, but that was like in 1994. Okay, so stopping and starting, I mean, the D zone, yes, but as an offensive defenseman, if you can just keep your pace going, watch Quinn Hughes, watch Makar, pick your guy, watch Darlene. They don't stop skating, and it's effortless skating, and it's effective skating. And that's what I don't see Dickinson doing. I see him, if I could work with him for like a day, I'm not saying that they're going to allow me that, but like,
Why wouldn't they?
I mean,
For fuck's sake.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't mind just like sometimes he goes back and he stops, and it's like, why are you stopping? Let your
He's on
momentum,
rails, it feels like everywhere, right?
let your momentum
Yeah.
keep going. As long as you have your head up, you know what's coming. Sometimes when you go back for a puck, it's just a little like, off the boards, and then keep going. Like the Darlene goal, you guys won't remember, but that's all he
Yeah, the
did. He
back
just
door.
made a little pass, and then he just kept going. He wasn't skating at 100 miles an hour like McKinnon. It was just this easy, long stride that with momentum as an offensive defenseman. And that's with Dickinson. That's where I think he needs to grow leaps and bounds, is just understanding his game. And with skating, there's a way of being effortless. And with him right now, it's a little too choppy for me. It's a little too stop and start. And he's working harder to get in positions that he can get into by just the word coast can be dangerous because you're like, oh, if you're coasting, you're not working hard, but you don't need to fucking work too hard to get in positions. There's a way of getting into the right place at the right time with efficient skating. So that's my 2 cents on Dickinson. And obviously, yes, we need an offensive guy, not only on the power play, but I think somebody that's going to play 25 minutes a night. I think that's going to put guys, Desharnais and stuff that have had a great season, but maybe a few less minutes there.
Dan, I wanted to say actually to JD too that Dickinson was pretty good against the Blues the last game. If you didn't watch it, so
That was
yeah,
I didn't see it.
but
yeah,
the
that might be one to watch.
his best games are the one, and I've done a couple breakdowns of his stuff. Is exactly to Dan's point. Like he's almost like in the offensive zone. He's almost in front of the opposition's forwards, and he's just looping and getting back because he's a great
Yes.
skater. He's got it, and I think to Dan's point, it's like trusting that more and getting, maybe being out of position a little bit, but coasting, knowing that you're gonna get back because you're gonna have momentum. And again, we call it, you call it surfing, but like he should be surfing everywhere. And I learned a lot of it from Dan. And when I first came to the league, was like Yanni too, is like never turn backwards. Just stay forwards as much as you can. Once you get to the D zone and you have to stop at a certain time, yes, but he's saying like it seems like he's following like these train tracks all over the ice.
Yes, I
And
agree.
it's like when you're following train tracks, it doesn't quite when it works, but it seems a little bit too robotic. And he's a great skater. So I'm like, just try it.
Yeah.
I wonder a lot
Loop-
of that is
loop-
the pressure of the first year and wanting to be defensively responsible
course.
because you see him in the he's doing what you guys said. And obviously
He's
it's
a
the
mover,
NHL, it's a whole
yeah.
different thing. He's a mover. He loves to sort of coast in the offensive zone and slide into good scoring opportunities and contribute. But if you see him on the rush, once he gets his first chance, he hustles back to the point. Where I'm like, you look at
he's like sprint back.
yeah, he sprints back. You watch
Like
Schaefer,
nervous.
he's like staying in front of the net. He's playing out in front. And I don't think they've
Not
given him the
comparing
reins
Schaefer
to
now, right?
what's up? Yeah.
Let's not
But-
compare him to Schaefer, all right? He's
Well-
a great D man, but Schaefer's fucking this kid.
Well, I'm just saying,
Kid's
like,
lights
insane.
out,
This kid's
yeah.
Bon Dior.
it's insane. But what I'm saying is that it seems as if the coaching staff has told him, like, get back into position, don't get out of position. And that's the rails that I see him on too. I feel like
That's what
you
we
know.
don't know what he's being, and in his defense, we don't know what's being told or asked of him. So my question to the people, or not my question, the people that are listening to us, now that I know people are actually listening to us, go the ones that are skating. Okay, so take someone at the top of the circles, one on one side, one on the other. Okay, I want the guy to skate all the way down to the other top of the circle, come back. Let's do that 4 times. One guy can go stop and start, top of the circle, back and back. One guy stops and starts. Have the other guy just kind of turn and do like a weave or whatever. all day, the guy that's not stopping will win that race and will be significantly less tired by just making a little crossover, or sometimes it's just a little opening up the frickin' the 10 to 2s or whatever they call them. It is so much more beneficial to not stop and start all the time, especially in the offensive zone, the neutral zone. D zone is a little different, obviously. You got to be a little more direct and precise. But I don't know. I feel like he needs to watch some tape of some of these young, or not young guys, but some of these guys that are doing it now, and they just never stop. Quinn Hughes, I had heard a lot about. I watched him a lot this year. I mean, it just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop, and no one can stop
Never
him. And
stop.
it's like he can do whatever. It's like he can do whatever he wants because he just doesn't stop skating. And then what guys do, the forwards do, they're like, they respect him so much that they give him all the room in the world because they don't want to get burned. It's like a receiver. You know, I remember Cheetah or whatever his name was. Like they would just give him the freaking
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, they would give him like the quarterbacks would line up 10, 15 yards back because they just didn't want to get burned. So he would just run 5 yards and catch, make his 6, 7, 8 yard catches. And I'm seeing that with Quinn Hughes. He's got so much respect out there because forwards just don't want to get burned. And again, we're comparing really good players to a 19-year-old that's up and coming. But I think it's something for him to strive for. Obviously first year, great job. But like now we need you to take that next step into that higher echelon of offensive defensemen, if you will. And
So
yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to jump on this too because I watched the Philly game. I actually missed some games with the baby, but I was at the Philly game with Shengers and working that game, and then also watched the Buffalo game. And one thing that I don't see in the Sharks D core that is really noticeable in Buffalo is like you watch Sanheim, you watch Dahlin. The Sharks D also, other than Orlov, don't have a lot of snarl. They just don't have a lot of like, let me intimidate, let me break up plays. They don't have a lot of bite. And I don't know if Raddysh solves that problem either, but you look at teams look at the Panthers, look at Tampa Bay. As a unit, they have bite. And the Sharks D, I mean, I don't think the power play is the only issue. You need a PP1 guy for sure, but you need a 6-unit team that can really bite down, clamp down on other teams' forwards and put a little fear in them. And I don't think other than I don't think Desharnais is consistent enough with it. And other than that, I think that's something else that the Sharks D core needs for next year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we to be
So
clear,
we've
they need more
identified
than
that the Sharks.
What's that?
Yeah, need everything on
They,
defense.
no, yeah,
We've
they
identified the Sharks
need an
everything on
offensive defenseman, and they need other stuff. So that was just kind of the starting.
Yeah.
No, we've got
they
one.
need
We've got
for
one
sure.
D
They need
next year.
they probably need
do one.
They
Yeah.
probably need 2 or 3.
Let's start with one. Yeah.
They need 2.
But no, you're right. Like they need a lot more than just the power play. But right now, you're right. They only have Orlov and Dickinson. They have Mukabatulin if they decide to bring him back too. But it's not. I mean, that's like what, one top 4 D and a developing top 4 D. You hope in Dickinson, and that's kind of your entire defense for next year.
Yeah.
So they really got to step up their game.
Yeah,
Figure out.
I think
Swing for the fences.
Yeah, I think Desharnais earned it. I think you bring him back. I think just penalty kill wise and his size and length, I think he's been fantastic for them in the role he's needed to be in. I think him as your 6 is a great 6, and possibly 6'7", depending 6'7", depending if you have a young guy as your 7, where you have everybody's screaming for Pohlkamp. If you have Pohlkamp and you kind of give it him minutes and you're trying to have him dip his toe in the water, that's what you do. But other than that, then you look down the list in the NHL. There's a couple guys I was staring at that were a little bit older that I was like, maybe could bring in some snarl. Jamie Alexiak in Seattle could come in, long, big body. You have him and Desharnais. He can fight. He's kind of an older. He's 33. Could take a lower end deal. Good player. Do you bring back Mario? Mario's, one of the favorites in the locker room. Do you bring him back on a 1-year deal, or this might be his opportunity with the season he's had to go get more term and paid? Do the Sharks want to pay it? So that's why I look at, I kind of was looking at Braden Schneider a little bit earlier in the season, but I don't think his upside, I don't think isn't there. And I think I've just been very bullish on Michael Kesselring for a while since playing with him. I think he hasn't been unlocked yet by a team, and might be cheap to get him as an RFA. He's an RFA, so it might cost you a pick, but big 6'4" D-man, fights when he needs to, has some snarl to him, but can shoot the puck and can play, good 200-foot game when he's on.
I want to go back to Sam Dickinson really quickly before JD. I ask you about a few other guys options besides.
Big Dick Sam.
So with Dickinson, I think there's been a lot of talk from the coaching staff about his positioning. So I feel like they basically wanted him to learn NHL positioning, and once he does that, then they'll let him go a little bit more, like he did in the St. Louis game. And so I think that might be a part of it, where they've been like, we want you to do this right now. And then once you show that you know where you should be, even if you're not always there, but you know where you should be, then we'll let you go a little bit. But okay, so JD, so Darren Raddysh, that's like maybe your number one target in free agency. But obviously, if he's the Sharks' number one target, he's going to be the number one target of a lot of other teams too. So if you miss out on him, how about some of these names? These are not exciting names by any stretch, but what do you think of these names? These are names, bad contracts or whatnot that could be out
Let's
there.
hear it. Rapid fire, go ahead.
Yep. Nurse, Rielly, Skjei, or Hamilton. And assume that the other team will retain, like Darnell Nurse, for example, Edmonton retains like half or a third,
Yeah, I think Darnell's interesting at a, I always said if Darnell was making $6 million, everybody would be like, would love him.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he makes 9.5, people just can't digest it. I wouldn't mind it, but I also, it's a tough one because, him having a breath of fresh air, what do you got to give up to get him? If the price is right, I maybe wouldn't mind it. I think he's an upgrade. So I think that's good. And he's a guy that's been to the finals twice. He's got a lot of experience, tough guy, would be great for this team. He's a really good guy too. I know him a little bit. He's a great human being. So he's one. The other one you said was
Rielly.
Morgan Rielly?
Yeah, and they're both similar. They are 20-30 UFAs, and they're both like 31-32. So
I don't think you can with Morgan Rielly. I just don't think there's much left there. He's not even playing PP1 in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's back and forth. You said Ryan Skjei?
No, Brady Skjei.
Brady Skjei. Brady Skjei, I wouldn't mind. He can play big minutes, but speed is an issue for me a little bit. But, I could see him being he's an upgrade and I've liked Orlov's game this year, but I think he's like an upgrade from Dimitri and would slot him down a position, which would be good. And then who's the other guy you said?
Dougie Hamilton, which, the Sharks. No? Okay. I mean, he solves PP1.
Yeah. He didn't want to come here the first time. Fuck him.
Well, hey, you know what? Barkley Gaudreau and Nick Leddy don't want to come here too. So
yeah, and now they're happy here. So
happy enough, I guess,
and,
right?
And Shanger, you're talking about NHLers right now on other teams that are, there's a Jason Demers somewhere, like a late pick somewhere. There is a Dan Boyle that just needs an opportunity.
That's
somewhere. So the answer might be in the minors. There might be a guy on Colorado's farm team that just can't get in because McCarr's there.
That is
so. I think because I think if I'm Gersey and I think the window has now moved up. But I think, we're 3 years away. I don't want to sell the farm for a Morgan Rielly or a Hamilton or a Nurse.
Oh, hell no. No one's suggesting selling the farm.
Those teams have to pay even like too much or even too much. There might be a guy in the minors that is ready to make that jump that just can't because of the team he's on and, the lack of opportunity. So that's where the scouts, I talked about this on our podcast before. I think the scouts, we never talk about them, but they're a huge part of an organization. They have to go find those guys and they might be in the AHL and not the NHL. So I personally don't watch any AHL games. I don't know who those guys are, but I remember JD when I came to watch you at the Barracuda game. I came to watch you. I remember watching Holloway. And I remember saying to someone, I said, I didn't know he was a first round draft pick at the time. I had no idea.
Yeah. You're like, how the fuck is he?
But I was like, this guy's a fucking men against boys. Like he was like awesome. And again, it ended up being that St. Louis offered a bunch of money for they snagged those two guys from Edmonton. But I'm saying maybe there's a guy like that somewhere that just needs an opportunity. How you get him, I don't know. But the answer, we're looking at the NHL level, but the answer might be at an AHL level as well.
The answer, my
It-
friend, is blowing in the wind.
It's again, it's to Dan's point, it's a 25 to 30-year-old or maybe a little bit younger, a guy that just hasn't had the opportunity. He's been up and down, just needs a little bit of a shot. You look on the Sharks, I mean, you could honestly say, Boiler, like Matt Irwin kind of was that guy a
There's
little
another
bit.
one. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Matt Irwin came in, was kind of like, it was bouncing around, found a home, ended up staying in the NHL for a long time, but had a great run with the Sharks. But that's why I go back to Kesselring, because if you look at the last 2 years, he was with the Coyotes, he had 21 points. Then he played an 82-game season. He had 29.7 goals on Utah. During that year, Sean Durzi went down. He ended up having to play 22 minutes a night, thrived in it. He's been in a situation everywhere where they try to put him in a box where they're like, hey, we want you to be defensive. Don't play offense. We don't need points out of you. But he can do both. He can be effective in both zones. So he goes to Buffalo this year. He gets hurt early in the season, wants to prove himself, plays through the injury, struggles. Now he's probably not even going to get any play. He's got 2 points this season. Perfect example. He's an RFA. They're going to try to qualify him. He loved playing for Warzo at World Championships and played a good role at World Championships under Warzo. So Warzo knows him, and he wants, like, no joke, I talk with him, like, wants to come play on the Sharks. And maybe this is me
Really?
just trying to, like, encourage
Manifest
Yeah,
it.
because again,
Manifest it.
Fucking
Macklin's
GM Jason Demers.
There you
no,
go.
I just like, I could, like, to Dan's point, like,
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for
Yeah.
guys that I see that need an opportunity. And like, it's hard for me to like look away from that. Not to say that I'm like, oh, I hate you. You're a first round draft pick. When I see somebody that like, I see your potential and there's room for you somewhere, but just because the situation, the coach doesn't like you, because that happens. If a coach doesn't like you, they're going to find a way to not play you. It just is what it is. You cannot get out of it. You
Jason
could
and I know that very well. So I mean, a lot of guys do. We're not the only ones, but
a lot of guys. No, we're not. It's not a woe is me. It's just, and it's nothing against the coach. Like, a coach gets singularly focused on a guy, positive or negative. You'll look for things, and then you have to play perfect every night. And then the one time you make a turnover, well, you're coming out of the lineup. So there's like no way to get momentum. That's stress. So it's like finding guys like that where it's like, hey, there's something there. I just don't think the coach likes him. I don't think it's working. Bring him in. It won't cost much. And those are kind of, to Dan's point, and I agree exactly. That is what you kind of got to build. Maybe take a swing on one guy, but it can't be this like, let's get, somebody that's making 9 million, they'll retain 3. He's 32 or 30. He's going to come in and like, because again, he's making 9 million and he's not playing the greatest. It's like, go get a guy that's cheaper, because then you can go get some other pieces as well. And if you got to pay some guys to stay, if you bring all these expiring contracts, and I know they're eating money, it's just, I don't think that's what, like, the window's moved up to Dan's point, but it's not like next year. So it's like, you got to go get the 25 to 30-year-olds right now. The guys in that, I'd even go like 23 to 30. That's my range. If you can go guys to grow with the team and be like on a 5-year run that exceed expectations. And it is, I think it's the biggest year for the scouting department for the Sharks, like, in a long time. Like, they need to pull some guys where we're like, holy fuck, like
Yeah.
Colin Graff, like Jesus, like we need like 2 Colin Graffs in the back end.
I do agree with that. Like, I think that Mike Grier has done a good job, and he's earned
Great job.
some grace over the last
Yep.
couple of years. But at this point, though, like, you can't fuck around with your choices anymore, to be honest. Like, a guy like Timothy Liljegren, you took a chance on him, 3rd round pick. It was fine. Didn't work out. You can't
That was
make
a good
mistakes
try.
like that right now.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that was
Yeah,
a-
yeah. Like, he was a first
that was a
round
good
pick. He had
try.
some talent.
I thought
Yeah.
Timmy would come in and like quarterback the PP, and he just
It was
come
not a bad
somewhat.
idea. Yeah.
It wasn't bad. I just think it didn't
Yeah.
work, and I think it was a good. I think Grier's done a really good job with what he's had. He's been trying to cut a lot of the fat off in the last, when he first came in, and I think now, to your point, it's like this kind of summer's like, now we go. Like, now
Yeah.
it's like 2 or 3 great moves, couple draft picks. Like, let's go.
and interject, JD. What I said on a few podcasts ago was 2 years ago, there are guys that probably would not want to come to San Jose, but now revisit 2 years later, fans are back. With Macklin, you're already like now. I think guys, that wouldn't want to have come here 2 years ago are probably more likely to be interested in coming here. So your pool of opportunity is bigger now than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I guess finish off the point though that like if you make a decision on a Raddysh, right, like JD wants, that you better be right. Your pro scouting better be right about that. If you make a decision on say Darnell Nurse, I've talked to a couple of scouts, Nurse or Rielly, 6'7". they like Nurse more than Rielly for sure. If you're going to take a chance on one of those guys, and so you better be right about that though, because that's 4 years right there at a good amount of money.
I'm not super excited about bringing in the guys that all of the other fan bases have been kind of complaining about for years. And complaining is a general term, but like Nurse, because you make so much money, is you're right, it's hard to swallow that contract. Rielly, because he doesn't have a lot of bite or a lot of fire. It's like Toronto fans have been hounding this guy forever.
I just think the reality is that you might need to take one of these guys on. I mean, beggars can't be choosers. Like, again, if you set all your hopes on signing Raddysh, that's one guy that like 10 other teams probably have number one on their list, and I'm sure there's a limit to how much you would spend on a guy like that too.
Well, let me change, like Sheng and Keegan and Zubair, JD, they have been on the Sharks are going to make the playoffs train, but they have now come back to the dark side with me.
I never left it, first of all.
You never left?
No, I was always on the
private message. We're still on the train. Publicly, we're still on the train. Sharks are making it.
I never got on the train.
And I was with you, Boiler. I loved it. I just was worried. I was just worried that you just run out a little bit of steam late in the season.
And I guess my question is, and again, for me, the resounding factor was if you remove Macklin from that team, you're looking at a top 3-5 lottery pick. That's how important he is, and I don't think that's a winning.
He's so damn good.
That's not a winning formula long term. So I guess my question to Sheng and Keegan and Zubair is, where are you guys in regards to the Sharks next? What are your expectations without knowing who they're going to sign? What are your expectations for the Sharks next year? As far as, are we talking making the playoffs? Are we talking first round? What do you guys think?
So them making the playoffs this year is because, to quote Connor McDavid, the Pacific is a pillow fight, right? And so that's a lot of why I thought the Sharks were going to make it. I saw a window. And I still think there is a small chance, but I think there's a chance.
It's still possible.
It's still possible. And and I'm going to ride that train until the end of the season, because like Randy Hahn said, I was here in 93, 94. It was awesome, and I think that could happen still. And if it does, great. I think this season was the perfect Sharks season, even if they don't make playoffs. I don't think the Sharks season could have gone any better, even if they don't make playoffs. Especially if they get a top 6, top 7 pick. Chase Reed's still available, maybe, right? Well, Keegan and I will debrief at some point on this pod on what's available in that realm. But I still think I agree completely with Boilers, where I'm still, I told, when we were with Ricci, I told him 2030, dude, that's the year. Like the Shark, and he was like, yeah, I was like, that's like the year the Sharks are going to be like, kind of really in the hunt for a cup. And I think I still think that's my trajectory. And I think any progress, developmental and on the back end, is a good season for the Sharks. So I think next year, just moving ahead, just keep moving ahead. You don't want to be Buffalo. You just want to steps. And I think Grier's taking steps.
So if they don't make the playoffs next year, you'll be happy as long as there's growth?
As long as there's growth.
I'm fine with it, because to me, it's
totally
all individual players.
Like, I wanted a big playoffs. I think there's enough. I think there's enough there in the forwards that you really, if you make the right moves defensively, you can make the playoffs with this team.
Feel like if they don't make the playoffs next year, there will be a huge disappointment to the fans.
It's a disappointment.
I got
a guy who's a free agent. I was just looking through Puckpedia. I was just looking through some free agents. A guy that could use an opportunity, would be cheap. Nick Blankenberg is one for me.
Yeah, he's been kind of bounced around. He's tiny, but sometimes tiny works.
I'm just saying, I don't know if Grier or Warzo will love him, is all I'm saying.
It's a guy that can maybe, if you take a shot at Rasmus Andersson, I know he's older, he's 29. he's probably going to command a lot of money, but he struggled a little bit in Vegas. Will he
Anderson
be
didn't
too much?
sign? Oh, he hasn't signed a
Not
contract
yet.
yet.
No, Rasmus Anderson, but Blankenberg's the guy, hasn't had an opportunity, can run a power play. Maybe he's not your top guy, but that's a guy that can fill in if you don't have anybody to come run a PP. There's a couple guys, but yeah, it's not, to Dan's point, it's going to be guys that are just that are RFAs. You're going to have to get really kind of greasy with it. So, but I think they can do it. But I think I didn't have them making the playoffs. I think this is a huge win this year, but I think it just highlights that next year, if they don't make it, I think it's disappointing.
I want to quickly answer Dan's question just for myself, that to me, it's not necessarily about making the playoffs. It's about individual player growth. And next year, I want to see mainly Askarov take
Not
that
about
step
making
and
the
be
playoffs?
consistent. If Askarov is good, chances are he will make the playoffs. Or I'm sorry, they will make the playoffs. But like the main thing is that like he's the main guy that I want to see consistency from, and then you want to see like regular growth from kind of everybody else. If you see that from everybody else, then I think you're fine. Just like this year, no matter what happens this year, if they lose every game the rest of the season, and I said this a couple weeks ago, and then it went on a 6-game losing streak, but. Even if that happens, like you've seen Macklin turn to the superstar, you've seen growth from Colin Graff and Zach Ostapchuk become like reliable NHL players. Guys like Will Smith, William Eklund, Sam Dickinson, Michael Misa have shown huge growth from last year or throughout this season. So that's what I'm mainly looking at. Like if some veterans fall off a little bit, like Klingberg was really good middle of the season. Obviously he fell off. Tyler Toffoli hasn't been as good this season as the year before. Whatever happens with the veterans, like that's going to happen. But like as long as the young players keep growing. And so anyway, the main thing for me next year is Askarov. What I did want to ask JD here while we still have him is, so you were on the Sharks road trip recently. Actually, you were there for their last win in Montreal before yesterday. So when you left the road trip, that's when they started losing. But what'd you see in the locker room? Just
JD went to
anything
Montreal on a
that,
road trip, huh?
You get to make your schedule. Make your schedule. What did I see from the locker room? I mean, listen, it's a great group of guys there, man. Honestly, it's hard to find bad locker rooms in hockey. There are some that have popped up, but I got to sit and have a couple conversations with Macklin. Just an amazing kid. Wants to win so bad, takes so much on his shoulders. So, it's. I think he's at that point where we figured out what he is. I think, and he can drive a line, but I think now it's like continuing to elevate the guys around him. Like I want to see like a win for me next year. If this is the line they're rolling with, the Chernysov line, I need Chernysov needs to have like a 30, 35 goal season. Will Smith's got to have about 60, 65 assists. Like that is like a play. Like that is the growth that eventually we need to get to. I think Chernysov, I like a lot from what I see, but again, they're very together. The guys are very serious. Warzow's got them very disciplined and also like believing. And I think that's the important thing. Like the group believes. They believe they can win every game. And I think that's something that's been missing the last 3 years. And I had a great conversation with Ferraro that was like, listen, he's like, it was fucking so hard the last 2-3 years. He's like, I cannot explain to you how hard it was. And he's like, it is like a weight's been lifted off in the room and like around the dressing room, like with the guys. Cause he's like, there's like the sense of hope and like the beliefs back. And I'm like, that's something that, I noticed from being the year prior going on the road trip for like 16 games. I'm like, no, this is a serious, not to say that the Sharks weren't a serious organization, but I'm like, it's back. Like the standard's coming back and it's got to keep elevating if they want to make the playoffs. So that's where it's like, it's back, now keep it. And that's on, management first, ownership, and then it trickles down to scouting and it trickles down to coaching and then to the players. But yeah, that's what I saw from that road trip.
Oh shit.
Do we think that Grier is going to do like the big swing this summer? Like go for like a Simon Nemec or some sort of big name? Or is he going to still kind of go with this, try to go around the margins, sign free agents, that kind of thing?
Time will
think so,
tell.
yeah.
Yeah, time will tell. I don't know if Simon Nemec is the guy you want to take a swing on because I saw him I saw him play at the Olympics, and I always tell this story. I watched him at the Olympics. He was playing 25 minutes a night, and if you could find the tape, yes, he did well and the team did well, but he looked physically exhausted every game, and I just think he can't be a consistent 25-minute a night player. I think he's a good power play guy, but I think he's 18 to 20. So, to me, I'm like, I just don't I don't think you take a big swing and trade some big pieces for him. You know, if it's there and it's a 1-for-1 maybe, yeah, maybe you take it, but yeah, I'd be careful with that one.
Yeah. There was a report out that he like that situation's become a little bit like he's gonna get traded. Somebody
Yeah.
mentioned that
Listen,
in
if
the
it's
X
not an
Summit.
if an oversell, you take a young guy, D-man that's got some upside, I mean, it's worth it.
Yeah, but a lot of people are gonna be after him for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, so here's a
You
You gotta
question
get him.
about
Yep.
about playing a lot. What'd you guys think about Celebrini's back check in OT? You see a kid after the Olympics going through a slight slump because the ice is getting tighter, playing meaningful games. And I see a little bit of maybe potential burnout. He just didn't have his same punch. And I put that maybe on the coaching staff for overplaying him, also overplaying him in OT. And I know they give him the reins to be like, go play as much as you want. But at some point, do the coaches have to step in and be like, be aware that like, hey, dude, we are going to burn this kid out. Any thoughts there?
Well, let me jump in first. I
He
vigorously protest that
defended him.
narratives, but go
He
ahead
did.
though.
No, I'll go quick, and then I have to leave with Mac. It would be dumb to say that him going to the Olympics, playing 22 minutes a night, coming back, playing the minutes he's playing, to not have there be some small level of maybe mental fatigue, at the very least. He is 19, he's got a motor. Usually at 19, you're not supposed to get tired. So, and I think he takes care of himself very well. But to say that there isn't a level of maybe a small moment, and there's games where you have it, it fucking is what it is. But he also was at the Olympics playing the most minutes of any forward a couple of those games. Like that's a lot traveling, coming back. So I think there was going to be a little bit of a lull at some point. Now he shook it off last game in Columbus, but there was going to be a lull eventually. He's human. You know, it's human. I think it's I think if you have Macklin Celebrini sitting on the bench and you're trying to make the playoffs as a coach, you're not going to not fucking play him. So like, let's all like any fan that's like you're overplaying. Okay, put you on the bench. Tell you to sit there with Macklin looking over his shoulder at you, and try not to play him 20 minutes a night, like when he's that good and that dominant. So I'm like, fuck off with that. But you know, to say that there couldn't be some small lull is also, you know, it's a possibility, and it looked like it on a couple games where he looked a little bit not disinterested. He just looked tired a little bit because again, the biggest thing Macklin's gonna have to learn next is he's learned how to he's has that innate ability to be a superstar, but now it's gonna be they're gonna start taking away all of his options. So it's like not forcing plays, and that's where his line mates need to come up and help him out. And they did last game, and that's what you see when you have his line mates step up. So that's just gonna be the next phase for him. And I'm out.
Okay,
Love you
buddy.
guys.
Ciao, man.
Thank you, thank
Oh.
you. I gotta go hit the driver.
Ah. Let's go. See you, buddy. I'm gonna.
All right, so are you gonna head out?
I was just gonna jump on to
Okay. Yeah, go
Zubair's
ahead.
question.
I'll go after you.
First off, like no one's gonna doubt that the effort in Mac to that was like a one-off. He was just I don't doubt what I mean. So
Yeah.
I guess when you were posing the question, so going back to me, I used to play like 27, 28, 29 minutes a night for 6-7 years. It was like me and Chara back in the day. And you talk about burnout. I think the efficient, I'm repeating myself with the efficient skating here, and he's a forward, so a little different, but where the hell am I going? I don't think, I'm not worried about Macklin burning out. I think he's smart. He's an efficient skater. It may happen in the odd game, which again, I didn't watch the St. Louis game, but I read that he had played like 3.5 minutes of the overtime. I think probably that particular time, and it's going to happen once and again, but I'm not worried long term about burning out, because I think the guys that play a lot and can handle it, they take care of themselves. They're efficient skaters, and I'm drawing from my own personal experience. I could play 25, 29, 30, 33 minutes a night, and there was the occasional next day, the back to back there. I wasn't feeling great, but never would I question myself long term. How's that going to reflect? How am I going to feel 3, 4, 5 years from now? No, fuck. I wanted to play more. I would, and so I would imagine Macklin's looking back at the coach like I did with Torts or Rammer and be like, get me the fuck out there, and so I'm not worried about him burning out. That's my long-winded answer to your question.
So the two
Can I
differences.
jump in, Zubair? Is Zubair before you go? Zubair, can I go first?
Just real quick point.
Oh,
So there's, to Dan, so there's two differences that I see. Is like, one, so much of Mac's game is dependent on his explosiveness through the neutral zone with controlled entries or on the forecheck, or even breaking down plays in the defensive zone. And he was missing that jump. And then the usage of him rotating him through other lines. Like, he was not just playing first line, he was rotating him through. And then you saw, in the St. Louis games, like even like Will Smith's numbers come down a little bit, and then, Chernyshov a little bit. And so when he's rotating him in those other lines, like Jason Demers says, like, you don't want him looking over your shoulder, but now you're putting him on, other lines in a game where maybe you can give other forwards that opportunity. Now, I know we're making a push for playoffs and you want him on the ice and you want your best player on the ice, but I think maybe and the question is, like, is it the job of the coaching staff to manage those minutes and see burnout, in a player, and mental fatigue and physical fatigue, and manage that as opposed to putting him in that pressure. And then, you see him in the post game and he's taking a lot of pressure on himself, and I'm sure Mac can handle that. He's an elite pro, but I don't know if that's the best for him. So that's the question, but go ahead, Shengers.
Yeah, well, to answer your question though, like the coaching staff, like of course it's their job to watch that and manage that, and aren't they though? I think they are. Like, he, since the Olympics, has missed a lot of practices, which is very un-Macklin-like, and that's been on purpose. That's the coaching staff telling him to take days off, basically, and save yourself for the games. And so I guess I would say that, like, I trust the coaching staff being as into it as they are to know that sometimes they've got to pull the reins in on him. And if you want to mention specifically the St. Louis game, he was great the whole game. That's the funny thing about this narrative. Like, if you watch that entire game, he was dumbing people all over the ice in puck battles, just like he did to Charlie Coyle yesterday. He was doing all that to the Blues. Like, I thought that was actually, in this losing streak, that was one of his best games. Like, I think in this losing streak, he had struggled a little bit with kind of actually more just forcing the puck, just like kind of like Macklin last year a little bit, just like, just trying to force the play too much. And is that fatigue, like something major? Like, obviously there's a natural kind of tiredness, like Dan says. Like, you play 20 plus minutes a night, you're going to be a little tired. You're not going to be as fresh as you were in October. But is this like a red alert thing? I don't think so. Like, every player struggles. Like, even Connor McDavid, like, started the season, he wasn't scoring points. It happens to everybody. But when he's doing the B game stuff, though, like he did in St. Louis before the overtime there. And if you look at the whole overtime, that 3:42 he played, we can talk about that too, because you break that down, there are kind of like, there's sort of circumstances that lead to him playing 3:42, that if you look at it hard, it makes a little more sense. But that's a whole nother tangent. But I just want to say that, like, what I look at with Macklin is that if he's winning his puck battles, if he is like dumming players like Charlie Coyle, 6'3", 34 years old, still a really good player, then he's fresh enough then,
So, but then you're
yeah,
picking the two games where he played best since the Olympics in many ways.
No, but he struggled for maybe 3-4 games where he wasn't scoring, but then before that he was fine. He was fine in Montreal when he scored multiple points, their last win.
Well, it's not just to your point, I'm not looking at the points, but he's I think a couple of things are happening, and I don't think it's just this. I think that the games have been tighter. I think you see guys, like even last night, you see the space Chernyshov and Will Smith are given because, guys are double teaming Macklin. Guys are also playing Macklin tighter in these games because they know, he's the engine that turns this team's offense on and off.
They even do that all year, though.
They've been playing.
He's
well,
been
the games
double
that-
shifted all year. He's been double shifted all year. Basically, he's called his shifts the entire season. I mean,
That's not
he's their best player.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the opposing teams are covering him heavier as the games have been tighter. And so since the Olympics, when he was in lulls, you see him, like get rocked by Hathaway, get rocked by Barzell in the head. Like, I don't know. I just think that there's also guys playing him, checking him tighter than they ever have. They've been checking him tight all year, but you see the games are getting tighter as well. And so I think some of it is also just that. It's not just, I think it's him also adjusting to the game a little bit and learning what he could do out there. That's to your point. I don't have a side other than posing the question. But to your point, I think it's also just him being checked heavier and getting more coverage than he ever has. Obviously, they've always been covering him, but you see tighter coverage on him than I've ever seen. It's a continuum, and on that
He
continuum,
has to learn
guys
through
are
that.
playing
He has to
really
grind
tight.
through that, though, right?
And
That's what I'm saying.
on nights when you're not playing well, and as a competitor you want to be out there. That's the nights where the coach has to reel you in. So, in a blowout loss 6-1, am I going to fucking play map double shifted in the third period? You never want to give up, right? Like, obviously we have that never give up attitude, but that's the one where you pull him back. Or on a night where he's just not performing as well, you take away a little ice time. But when he's going, and again, I didn't watch the St. Louis game, so if he's going, I'm letting him go as long as he wants. I'm not worried about a burnout. That's kind of where I was answering your question.
Yeah.
But on the nights that things aren't going well or whatever, that's, you rein it in a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be his adjustment. I mean, he's so good, and I'm not worried about him. But yeah, teams are going to start. I mean, every night the Sharks are going to be played. What's the first thing that every single team is going to be talking about every time they play the Sharks? The Celebrini. It's no different than when we play Edmonton or, Pittsburgh back in the day. Or you always, you always talk about the engine and who you have to watch. And I'm not worried about him. He's very smart. He's very good at, he's gotten hit a few times, obviously lately that we haven't seen. But yeah, he's he's going to get the other team's best, and he's going to have to learn at times to maybe figure out new ways to getting open and stuff like that. But I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that.
I think
development.
he wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit. Like he he smashed his stick across or on the post on that I don't remember what game it was that they lost, but like he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Every loss.
Yeah,
I know, but that's what I worry about this summer is if you don't build the defense, if you don't get a good team behind him, I don't want him to lose that. I don't want him to get used to losing because he hates it apparently. So and obviously he's gonna get better, but yeah, that's the thing that you never want to lose that Macklin spark, right? And I don't think we will, but that's the thing.
So. I don't think so. Guys that are cut from that cloth. I'm thinking about in my head all the players that I played with that are like that. It doesn't go away. It's innate. You're born with it. You have it. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. The fire going out with him. I think he's built the right way. Zubair, what kind of stick does Macklin have? What are we talking?
I don't know. That's a Keegan question.
What's
Actually,
he working with?
I know a little bit about his curve.
I don't know.
I know he has a bit
got?
of a toe curve.
Okay.
But I don't know the exact stick.
What brand of stick does he use?
CCM, I think.
That's my. Oh shit! You don't even know? Keegan, help him out. You don't know what kind of stick Macklin uses?
No.
Jesus Christ, gentlemen.
I think this is honestly a Zubair question. Zubair's the beer leader.
I know. I'm surprised.
He's got.
I thought you were gonna have a
know about his curve.
Is everything.
Yeah, let me see. I know he's got a pretty unique curve. Yeah, I think it's like
CCM.
He's a CCM.
It is a CCM.
What kind of flex are we talking about?
2025.
I think he's probably a 75.
Ooh, I don't know.
Or 70. Let me check.
Shenger, you don't know that shit? You're around those guys all the time. What kind of flex is
That's true.
that?
that stuff I don't really pay attention to. So I watch how he back checks, how he wins battles. That's what I watch. So
Yeah, what I do
Watch
know is that
the
he has like a
winning.
Zegras curve that you can't really. I don't think it might be available now, but when I checked last year, it wasn't available. But he's a little flatter from the heel to the end of his toe, and then he has a bit of a curve at the end of his toe, and you can see it with his release because Couture talked about it on when he was on. But he has a very interesting release where he'll pull in from his toe, and that's where he likes the curve. He drags in and then shoots the change angle, as opposed to a lot of shooters that are like from heel to toe shooting. And so he started that curve, I think, once he got to the NHL or right before. That's when he shifted to that curve, and it's a bit of a custom. I think he said Zegras may use it as well in like a interview he did once.
Okay. All right.
But yeah.
All right.
Well, we at least figured out CCM. That's all we got.
So you guys
That there is a
I didn't. I'm also too. I'm gonna have to get off here. So,
Okay.
Mhm.
good chat. Mr. Sheng, you're in Columbus, flying back.
I am in Columbus. Yeah, I'm gonna head back tonight.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we
All right,
will
buddy.
Thanks,
chat
Bob.
again, gentlemen. Thank you guys for having me.
All right.
Later.
All right, so we're down to 3. Keegan and I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about the Sharks' potential pick now that we are in a lottery spot. I don't know, where are we at now? 9th? Is that right?
I think we're 9th by points percentage, but I think we're around 7th or tied for 7th, something around that by points, I think. But it changes, and obviously they won last night, which kind of moved us up. We were inching closer to being in the bottom 5, which is insane for also being in a playoff race. It doesn't really make sense, but you mentioned earlier that this is the best season for the Sharks. I think it is. We're competing for the playoffs and competing for a lottery pick at the same time.
With a lot of
It's pretty
great
fun.
right-handed defensemen in the draft. So it's kind of perfect.
True.
So, I haven't visited Tankathon this late in the season in a while. The last couple of seasons, I've been on tankathon.com as early as late fall. So early
Yeah,
winter.
by January. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
it's nice to be spring outside and finally visit tankathon.com. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the sim lottery, see where the Sharks land. And then I'm going to go to we're going to go to Keegan for Keegan's board and see who's in that slot and just kind of take a guess of, fantasize who could be in the Sharks potential team next season.
Yeah.
So I'm sim lottering right now.
I do want to
Sharks-
preface that my board is my board, not the consensus or not the what I think is going to happen, because it's going to be totally different. But this is just like where we would land or who would be available, I guess.
Perfect. I sim lotteried. We stayed at 9th. So 9th pick, 9th overall.
We stayed at 9th pick. All right, 9th pick. That puts my board: Gavin McKenna at 1, Stenberg 2, Chase Reed 3, Keaton Verhoff 4, Carson Carroll's 5, Albert Smith 6, Vigo Bork 7, Ethan Belchet's 8. Tynan Lawrence is what I've got at number 9. However, right after number 9 is number 10, which I have Daxon Rudolph, who's a 6'2" right-handed offensive defenseman that I think, yeah, if you're looking at it, might be a play for the Sharks. He's had a very good season. He's got a lot of offensive talent. He's in the WHL. He's got 78 points in 68 games. Right size, right shot. Like it might be the perfect year to have a top 10 pick for the Sharks, because I don't think that, like, I have a lot of the defense in the top 6 here, because I really think that these are the best top 6 players. But I think that guys like Belchet's and Lawrence and Malhotra will sneak in there, so that no matter what in the top 10, there's going to be D available. Like Reed, Verhoff, Carls, Smits, and probably Rudolph or Lynn are like the top of the draft, I think.
You don't have Chase Reed in
Obviously, you would want somebody like Chase Reed.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go like 3. I think he's going to go super high. I feel like people are looking at Schaefer, they're looking at his impact, and they're seeing how Chase Reed carries the puck and his size, and they're like, this could be a good swing for us in the top 5. So he's not like obviously Schaefer, like JD said, is like Bobby Orr, but he's not that level. But that team is going to want him top 5 based on his size. The same with Keaton Verhoff and Carrolls. I think they're just so they're different, but they're all foundational. They all seem very, I don't want to say safe bets, but very good bets to be NHL players, and the upside on them is real too. So Smits is a little bit interesting because he's playing in men's leagues and he's, eating minutes, and he can hit, he can shoot, he moves the puck. It's just like it almost feels like he hasn't chosen direction of what kind of player he's going to be, really. And I don't know. I think he ends up going last out of those group of 4. But he's also very good and has had big international stage games too. So, yeah, like I said, number 9 would be Tynan Lawrence on my board, but I think for the Sharks, they might choose somebody like Daxon Rudolph if he's available.
And I think that brings up a good point too, where, even last year, my career is like, right now we're just picking best player. We're not in a position to pick based on position, like the organization is not. And I think this season they may be in that position finally where, and also it's such a heavy, D draft. And, Daxon Rudolph, I think, is leading the WHL playoffs in scoring right now. So, and he's great.
Yeah.
I was watching clips of him, a couple weeks ago, and I think that's one of those things where it's like, we need D, you jump ahead for that right defenseman, as opposed to just the best player in the draft. I would be happy with Daxon. I mean, I'd be happy
100%.
again. Top 10 pick. We're getting a good defenseman.
I think so. It would be. I mean, there are some drafts where all the defensemen take a run. I can't remember what year it was, but there was one where it was like 6 defensemen in a row were taken in the first 10 picks, or something like that. So it kind of happened. But then you look at 2024 when there was so many defensemen available, they leaked out to like the 14th with Zeev Bouillon or 13th. So I think if you have enough forwards to jump in, like a team's going to want a Malhotra or a Lawrence or like the big centers in the draft, that a D will sneak into the top 10. So really, if we're really wanting a D, we got to stay in the top 10, because once we get to like 13, 14, I think we're going to be starting to look at like Ryan Lynn and Zubair Villeneuve, who are there's more risk involved with their profiles. Not that they're not great players as well. But yeah, that's what I think we're at right now.
I think
What do you
it's
got, Sheng?
interesting.
So the layer was like 6 of them, right? It was, ended with Dickinson and Bouillon, right? So what in your mind, what are the layers this year for defensemen?
I say it's the top. I mean, Rudolph can argue me like into the 5th as well. So it's like 4 or 5, I think, it's Reed, Verhoff, Carrolls, Smits, and then Rudolph probably is as well in that top 5 category.
So you don't
would be my guess.
count like Lynn, for example, in that
I think
layer.
I like Lynn. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a great value pick for somebody, but with the players around him, I think he'll end up going like 15, something like that, just based on his size and everything. I think I'd also say that I think Rudolph and the others have just a more likelihood to hit. So I would put him lower. But I did like him earlier this season too.
2024, what I remember was that once you left the Dickinson, Yakimchuk, Bouillon category, then it was Stolberg. And that was like a noticeable step down pre-draft.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like that, kind of like if you go from Rudolph to Lynn?
Well, I think then you're looking at Lynn and Villeneuve as riskier picks, but high, like there's an upside there. So whereas Solberg, and I don't even remember who, well, I think it was Juracek as well. It was just they're further along. Like it was going to take a longer runway for them to really be impact players, and a little bit more risk. I don't think it's as dramatic as that, like that drop off, because that seemed like going from Bouillon to Solberg is like a huge drop off. I don't think it's that dramatic. I think it's more of like a top 5, and then Lynn, Villeneuve, and then it's a little bit more sparse after that. There's a couple more guys, but it's not looking as I think at that point you're looking at way better forwards that have fallen if all those guys are gone, for sure. So
Also interesting to note that Chicago on this sim lottery moved up a spot. They're taking first. They had with their D, they're definitely taking one of the two forwards, one of the two wingers.
yeah, McKenna.
Yeah, they're taking McKenna, and so I mean I wouldn't write off Stenberg either. We'll see. I mean McKenna's just been doing so well lately. So I mean then Vancouver, New York, Calgary, Toronto, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Florida, and this sim is what's ahead of us. I mean some of those teams need D, so just trying to see what availability of potentially another D option other than just Rudolph would be there, but kind of interesting.
I think honestly, all these guys are going to kind of go and be interchanged. Like I know, like even when Dickinson fell to the Sharks, he was supposed to go top 5, 6, something like that, and he didn't. So somebody like will kind of fall a little bit.
Yeah. And in that draft, to your point too, like some of the forwards, like Iginla jumped up. I could see Maholtra jumping up into a top 6. Like, you know, he could be a great number 1 center in the league, I think, long term. Very defensive minded, could do it all, has the tools, plays the game the right way.
Yeah, he's got potential.
Yeah,
for sure. He's going to be one of those guys that sneaks into the kind of like Jake O'Brien last year, or Nate Danielson in 2023, I think, something like that, where everybody's got him ranked in like the 10 to 15 range, but he ends up going like 6.
Yep,
you know?
Exactly.
That's how it always happens. But I'm excited. I really do want them to. I think similar to 2024, Grier recognized they needed a deep prospect and like traded up to get him. So I don't think they could trade up in the top 10 unless they used their Edmonton pick, probably. But I'm hopeful that if they are in the top 10, that they're gonna select one of the guys that are there. That even if they're not, even if it's left-handed, even if it's Carroll's or it's Smith's or whoever, somebody that's gonna help the decor going forward. So, and I like Carroll's and Smith's. I like all these guys. They're actually all pretty interesting in their own ways. But
so let me ask you this then: if the Sharks, let's say, package their Edmonton pick, which on this simulator is 19, and they get into top 3 range, let's just say, just fantasize, and you know Chicago takes their winger, you know, McKenna, then let's say we could have a pick of any one of these defensemen. Who's the number 1 defenseman on your board that we could take?
I'm saying Chase Reed, but that's that's me. I like Chase Reed a lot. The ceiling with him feels very high. There's some consistency issues. There's a little bit of defensive work that needs to happen, but I think just when he gets going, when you see the top end skill and skating, it feels really different than a lot of other guys in the class. Like Verhoff doesn't have the skating that Chase Reed does. He has probably a better defensive mind, but his boots are a little heavy right now.
That's because he was a goaltender still a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
did you know that? Yeah,
yeah, I read that, but it's just kind of funny. It's like, but he's a good player too. Like, I don't want to undersell Verhoff. He might go ahead of Reed because he just feels like a plug and play defenseman in a way that sometimes you don't see with Reed.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I like Carroll's a lot. I am still waiting for his, like, I don't know what the word is, the wow moment. Like every time I watch him, I'm like, yeah, he's good. He moves the puck well. He skates well. He defends well. He shoots from the point very well. I don't know. I think there's one of those guys that kind of like similar to Sam Dickinson, where there's a lot of projectability there in his draft year, I should say. Sam Dickinson +1 was like a different animal, but he could be, teams are looking for. There's a projectable good pick there, and he's going to be a good defenseman in the NHL, and you can tell that just from watching him. But you're still waiting for the wow factor, other than he puts up a lot of points and he can play the power play really well. But
and then the thing about Carroll's that shocked me was I think Craig Button's latest list had him going 2nd overall. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I mean, he's
his
really
his
climbing the
list has
ranks.
moved around a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He seems the most like people like variety where people like Button have him super high, and then people have him like 10th or he's kind of
11th,
jumped
yeah.
around, and on different rankings. So I haven't watched enough of Carroll, but you're saying he doesn't have that wow
I
factor.
watched him when I watch sometimes. I think he's smart. He plays a good projectable game. And he loves to shoot on the power play. He's got great shots. He's got everything good. It's like Dickinson in his draft year. Everything's good. I want a little bit more of the wow. I want a little bit more of the offensive flair, the creativity, but everything is good to above good. If that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah.
I watch it when I watch Ravensburg and yeah, he looks good. He makes Ravensburg look good too. So
nice. All right. Well, like we said, this is, I think we agree, a great Shark season all around. I think the way that I would sum it up is we know the Sharks are actually trending forward. You got the confirmation that Celebrini is your franchise guy. You see progress, as Shanger said, and all these other people, including Ostapchuk. Misa's really starting to show what he could do, the last 15 games.
Yeah.
You see even, grid picks with Orlov, still some question marks, and we want to see some more, some stuff from Askarov next season. That's what Shanger said his big question for next season is, but I think, and then you're still, potentially getting a top 10 pick, but still in the playoff hunt, in spring. What else could you ask for from a Shark season? And it's been exciting. We've been watching exciting hockey, exciting games. So I think it's just a great year all around so far, and going to be interesting to see how far they go in this push.
But yeah,
all right,
perfect
see you,
season, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.
Bye.